I also, at this point, I was like, they're probably going to sing, right?
Yeah. No. So I was, went into this episode thinking about like how Agatha got her song, Agatha All Along in WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
And so when this episode started, I was like, I really hope they sing a song in this episode. Like that's how I started this episode. Yeah. And then obviously like Patti LuPone walks up and I was like, so you're singing,
Here
right?
We go. Yeah,
we're going to sing,
this
right?
This is the musical episode.
And then they pull out that 6-part harmony.
Yeah.
And the song was long too. It was like minutes.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, we'll get into it. But I was like, I got what I wanted.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Alex.
I'm Madison.
And this is
Welcome to the Writer's Room,
the show where we analyze media in various forms and tell you why it works or why it doesn't.
Today we're talking about Agatha All Along. We're starting with the pilot episode titled Seekest Thou the Road.
Quick spoiler warning before we get into it. Though this isn't super connected to much of it, this is still part of the Marvel Connected Universe, so anything from the original comics, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, spin-off shows on Disney+, anything Marvel-related could possibly be spoiled, especially WandaVision. You've been warned.
Perfect. Okay, I think before we start, I want to give actually, I'll go ahead and do the summary first.
Okay. Well, do we want to... Are you talking about...
Like a Wanda, like a little, bullet.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that first. Okay. So, before you give your bullet point, we went into this, the first and second episode. We watched them back to back, and we decided not to watch we didn't rewatch WandaVision. We've seen it before, but we didn't rewatch it, and we didn't look up a recap at all either.
Right.
And I think it was... One, we want to talk about this show as a show, right? And two, I feel like a big issue that is happening now this late in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is that to know what's going on, you need to watch 15 other things, right? And that's just such a huge time commitment. And especially because the movies can vary so much in style and tone and frankly quality sometimes.
And it's overwhelming.
Exactly. So I think we came in with the idea that this show should be good on its own merit. And
we've seen WandaVision. Yes. We just haven't seen it since it first came out.
Yes. But with all that being said, a quick recap of the show that this is a spin-off of.
And I think getting into the later parts of this episode, I was like, oh yeah, that happened. Oh yeah, that happened. Yeah. So just a couple bullet points to help you out if you're like, wait, why is Agatha doing that?
Yeah.
So just some things that we learned in WandaVision. We're not really comic book readers. It's fun to know what happens in them, but we're not really going to go over the comic books as much. So Agatha Harkness, she's a very powerful and 400-year-old plus witch who wants Wanda's source of power, specifically in WandaVision. She has this ability where she can absorb and siphon power off of other witches. And in the finale of WandaVision, there's a big showdown between Wanda and Agatha ends up revealing that she has the Darkhold, which is also called the Book of the Damned. It's just basically this really powerful and deadly source of magic. And it requires this huge sacrifice if you're going to possess it. So at the end, Wanda defeats Agatha, and Wanda puts a spell on her where she remains trapped in Westview, and she has to act out sort of these scenarios like Wanda was doing in WandaVision. And now she doesn't know her true identity. And she's also been stripped of her magic. And then I guess I didn't see the Doctor Strange movie. Mm-hmm. You did.
I did.
And the Multiverse of Madness. But basically the only thing that kind of matters, and I don't even know how much that matters, is that Wanda destroys the Darkhold's power and the copies of the Darkhold.
Mm-hmm. Which is the Marvel sort of Necronomicon-esque evil book of magic that's super strong.
Right. And Agatha wants it back. That's the big thing. Agatha wants this Darkhold back. She wants powers back. Okay. So then I guess I'll go ahead and do a summary of this episode 1.
Fantastic. A spooky summary of episode 1.
And we are going to talk about episode 1 and 2 in this episode.
They sort of released at the same time, so we'll release ours at the same time.
Yes.
What should I say for this?
Oh. They're not bibbity boppity boo witches, they don't they speak in Latin.
That's true. Okay, I'll say something in Latin.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Dominus Deo.
Agatha All Along is here. We start with Agnes, a down on her luck detective who's been suspended but brought back on the case to solve a murder because she's the only man for the job. Although the case doesn't seem quite right. She goes around town analyzing the evidence found at the crime scene. We meet Aubrey Plaza's character, Rio, who's a federal agent. A teenager breaks into Agnes's house at night and is arrested. Agnes interrogates him, all while her world seems to fall apart, changing before her eyes. After being shaken from this incident, she heads to the morgue to see the body and prove the murder case is real. She eventually realizes she's in a spell and begins taking off layers and layers of clothes. She wakes up naked in her room, confronting her neighbor, Herb, realizing that this whole time she'd been under Wanda's spell, and none of that was real, including her name, which is truly Agatha Harkness. She finds the teenage boy tied up in her closet when Rio, the federal agent, who's really a witch, bursts through the door. Her and Agatha fight, ending with Rio saying the Salem 7 will be here at sundown for Agatha.
53 seconds.
Yeah.
Very succinct. Cool. Is there anything you want to say before or just get right into it?
I just think I really love like witches and spooky stuff and so I'm like super excited. I've been excited since I heard this was coming out and I'm like still excited after watching the first 2 episodes. So I have high hopes for the rest of the series.
Yeah, I remember watching WandaVision. We did like it. But what stood out to me the most right now, like looking back on it, was how fun this character was.
Yeah.
And not only that she became like a big bad at the end, but I just think the actress did a really good job portraying her through their different episodes in different styles. And same, yeah, like anytime anything is witchy and about witchcraft, I'm there. So I was also very excited. And I would say after 2 episodes, I am still quite excited.
Yeah. So we can just start with scene 1. This is kind of a weird first episode because the first, like, I don't know what, like 25, 30 minutes is like not a plot of a part of the overarching plot. So it's kind of funny to like go through the details when it is just sort of this like one-shot episode that we like never get back to.
I have a lot of notes being like, this was weird or this was weird. And then once it changes, I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Right. I was like, yeah, I get it now. Okay, that was great. But I do think a lot of what, like things that happened in this first chunk where she's in like her TV show, which was it Agatha or Agnes of Westview? It was Agnes of Westview. That like TV show she's in, I think is going to come back in like some ways. So I feel like we should still like go through that.
I was wondering if it was going to be sort of like WandaVision where each episode is a different spoof of a show. You know, like this was very like crime drama-esque.
Right.
And I thought it played really well. A lot of the notes, like I said, I'll still say them. But if they were going for a specific show that is known for those things, I could totally understand that.
Right. So it starts with her like Agatha driving. She's not Agnes right now. She's Agatha. She's playing this character. She's driving in the rain. She just looks sort of like beaten down. Is sad. She's driving to a crime scene. And what I'll say about this like first scene is I think the setting is like beautiful.
I wrote that down too. Yeah.
The like, it's almost like this muted color tone and all this fog and these like huge like trees, but these like beautiful pops of orange with the leaves.
Yeah, I said that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, well, even their coffee cups were like orange. It was very thought out.
Yeah.
To make this like sort of slow moving first part of the series to just look beautiful and keep you entertained.
Yeah. It's so easy to find a show that just has an ungraded look to it. And this to me looked very purposeful. It was still very muted, but with the colors that did pop, I knew it was an on-purpose decision.
Yeah. And it looked good. I liked looking at it.
And it was super crisp. I wanted to look up what camera they shot on because it looked really, really clean. But yeah, loved the setting, loved the colors. The cinematography was strong.
Yeah, I think so too.
Like, the shots were fine. I also liked there wasn't a recap of WandaVision, which I liked a lot. We jumped right into it, which immediately got me more interested.
Yeah, that's true.
So again, and maybe that's in their mind too. Like this should be a standalone show. It should stand on its own. And I thought that was very cool.
Well, because I didn't really remember, which maybe was the goal. So I was like in it. Do you know what I mean? I was right there with Agnes, like thinking this was the world and thinking this was the story. And I was like interested. I love a mystery.
For sure.
So I was like ready for it. I was like, oh yeah, let's get this mystery going. She's like a cop. This is going to be a detective. This is going to be so much fun. And I was like, oh, I'm so stupid. I should have known that. And like, it's like you feel exactly how Agatha feels, which is great. I love when they can do that. So basically, she's been off the force because she punched a suspect, which is funny. And of course, she's the one that can solve this. And there's a Jane Doe, a girl who's died, who was like moved here. There's things about the case that don't really line up. Like there's no tracks. She died of blunt force trauma. And I thought the dialogue was really cool. They're obviously like very closely like spoofing a true crime show, but I still thought it was good. There's a specific show they were playing off of.
Okay.
I don't know the show.
Yeah, that's what it sort of felt like after the change. I wrote down the dialogue was really janky.
Oh, really?
I did not like what they were saying, and I also did not like how our main actress was delivering any of these lines.
You didn't like it? I thought that was like the vibe. I thought that's what they were going for.
It was curious because at the beginning, the scene played long enough to where I was like, oh, is this like the show? Because I didn't know, like, is this before or after one of it? Was she like a cop at some point? Which I was down for anything. But it just started in like the actual words they were saying and the way specifically she was saying lines. I was like, this is not good. And like I said, if it's spoofing a style, I can totally get behind that. And after seeing episode 2, I do feel like it was more of a choice.
It definitely was, I
just feel like even now it didn't read super well to me.
Okay. I think a lot of people partially feel the way you feel as well.
But again, if it's a choice, like that's great. I don't know if it worked for me yet.
Okay, that makes sense. I like the dialogue when she's talking with her like cop partner Herb.
Yeah.
And they're like Agatha keeps sort of, or I guess Agnes at this point is like doing, like adding to the conversation. So it feels like you know what she's talking about. And like this is something she's good at. And I thought that was strong to build that character. Even though it's not a real character, I felt like that helped build the character. Yeah,
this is something I wrote a little later. And I'm knowing it's all like a dream made it a lot better. But the scene after she's at the library or whatever, I wrote down at some point, I do not like Agnes yet. Which I thought was really funny. And justified later. Right. But yeah, I think it's kind of a big risk that they took opening with such a long cold open into credits that are of a fake show. Right. Into like half the first episode is something that arguably just doesn't matter, right? Because it's all a figment of her imagination. So I really appreciate the risk they took, and I think a lot of things worked well. But yeah, some of it was just a little clunky.
Well, like the music, in this first chunk, I didn't like it because I was like, this is so cheesy. And then I was like, oh, duh. They're like making fun of it. It's meant to be cheesy.
That's crazy. I wrote down I liked the music.
Did you really?
I was like, it's really did this thing where it became like the forefront really subtly.
Like the piano music?
Yeah, she'd be, the piano and like the do thing happening.
When she's in the like crime scene
stuff?
Yeah,
I said it gave off like a Stranger Things meets Haunting of Hill House vibe.
Okay.
And maybe it's because it's so cheesy. It worked so like on paper how music is supposed to work. Like when dialogue would happen, it would cut out, and then she'd be looking and it would get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then a reveal, and then it would cut out. And I wrote down that I liked it.
Well, I'm specifically talking about like when she's like sad, when she's looking at the girl and she's looking at the piano music to me.
It was very in my face, but I also thought it was soft enough that I was like, okay, it's fine.
Okay. That's really so funny. Yeah,
I feel like I'm just feeling nostalgic right now.
Maybe. I thought the framing of the shots were really cool because I think slowly as we go through this like spoof of the TV show, right? I think the shots start out they're still like pretty and nice and work, but they're a little bit more like standard, and then slowly we get shots that start making you feel a little bit more and more on edge.
I like that a lot.
It was so nice and so subtle because by the end of this sequence, the whole like TV show sequence, I was like, I feel so off put that I could believe anything that's going to happen now. Like I know something's going to happen. They start doing all these little things. So I think these shots in this first one were really cool framing. Like they didn't want the audience to see the dead body because the dead body's like Wanda, right? And so they have her in the frame blocking it. Yeah. And you not realizing that it's like Wanda, think it's just them not showing you like this dead body.
And I don't know if there was something about it, but I thought I knew like right away it was supposed to be Wanda, and maybe that's just me like assuming, or maybe they did put something in the show, but I think they did a really good job of balancing. I was genuinely curious every time we found something and like had another question. Like I was on the edge of my seat being like, I need to find this answer.
Right.
But at the same time, when all the pieces came together, I was like, I could have figured that out. Like it was for like a a spoof of a show. It was actually a really well-crafted mystery.
Yes.
In like 20 minutes. I thought it worked really well.
I think that's like the mark of a good mystery is that you as an audience member can follow along and put the clues together. I can't stand when it's like, oh, all we need to do is put this thing into the computer and then we get to go here and this. And it's like, that didn't make any, that's not a true mystery. If I can't follow along with it and try to solve the crime, then it doesn't count, you know? So then Agnes gets like teary-eyed. And her like partner Herb is like, Agnes, are you okay? You don't sound like yourself. And she gets kind of upset. And she finds a ring. The ring is important. She finds a ring and like hides it. So then we go to the next scene and she like, cuts the line in the library. I'm guessing in this like show that they're spoofing this specific show, which like the American version is called The Killing.
Okay.
And it's from like a Danish crime show.
Okay.
I'm guessing like the main character like eats a lot or something. Because in like most of the scenes, she was like eating or drinking something. She has like the gum in this scene. I thought it was funny. I felt like it gave her a character, which maybe that was the point. Is she's supposed to be kind of caricature-y because she's like creating this character in her brain.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
This is another one of those notes that looking back, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I said, should the clerk girl talk about how Agnes is retired or like suspended or whatever? Because she just came in like it was an everyday occurrence. And I said, keep the world building consistent. And then knowing specifically that this world is not consistent.
Right.
I think that's a really funny, like they made that so clear that I wrote that down just to like eat crow after, you know?
Right.
I thought that was really cool.
Right. And I think it's funny that at the end, we realized that all the people she was talking to were obviously real people because that's like how this works. She just imagined it or was making them go along with it or who knows. So it's like, what kind of actual interaction did these people have?
Yeah.
You know?
At this point, I also wrote down cinematography looks nice, but I think it could be a little more creative, which I thought, again, like, that's great.
Yeah. Because it's like getting there. It's like ramping up. And then she's looking through the books and finds a broken section. Oh, wait. Actually, no, I want to talk about this first.
Okay.
So it's a page from a book, right? The book was stolen 3 years ago. There's no name on it. And it's like, oh, okay, so this is like the Darkhold, right? She's been in this world for 3 years now in Westview. She's been trapped there for 3 years. That's why the book was stolen 3 years ago. So that's like a little like kind of Easter egg, I guess you call it. Like clue, I guess. Because the real mystery we're solving is that she's not really, this is a TV show. So this is like a clue to that. So then she's looking through for the books in that section of the book that we know that she found. And she finds this like broken section.
It's all like burnt.
Right. And it looks like a blast hit it. There's like a center that was like completely obliterated. And this creepy man like whispers that there's a fire and that there was a fire. And like behind her, the background starts to get distorted. And that's, we find out there was a fire. And it's very creepy. The guy's like whispering only. And this is like an example where we start getting just things that don't make sense, right? Things that like aren't as they seem. And it kind of starts putting like doubt in your mind as the audience member. Yeah. Do you want to say anything else with the library
No,
scene?
I think, it was good. It was standard. Again, like as a standalone like spoof of a show, it like worked as a scene. It was fine. It was quick. I think throughout even this opening, the pacing was really nice. Even like when I found issues which turned out to be not issues, like I was still never bored,
right,
which was really cool,
right? And it was kind of slow, but not in a bad way. So I do think like good on them for being able to keep you entertained. So then Agnes is entering like with the ring. No, sorry. So then Agnes is going to work at like the police station. Precinct. And she's like, she's eating a pastry. And then we meet the chief and he's like this kooky guy. And basically we find out that the soil samples don't match from where the girl actually was. And they come from like Eastern Europe. Because of that, they decide to bring in a federal agent who's played by Aubrey Plaza, which I think was such a fun idea to bring Aubrey Plaza into this. Yeah. And they don't like each other. We don't know why. We don't find out why. They just really don't like each other. Yeah. And that it's clear that they've like known each other from the past. And then this, again, like things start getting a little bit off. They start talking about the girl and Agnes goes on this thing talking about like, well, all the answers lie in the small town and the secret's buried underneath. And it's like, that doesn't really make sense. So I was kind of like, where are they going with that? And Rio, is Aubrey Plaza's character, says like, it's almost like the body magically appears. And this is where I started being like, does Agnes remember? Because I know she's a witch. I at least know that much, you know, I at least remember that much from the series. And Rio is like, you've lived here all your life, haven't you? Isn't that true, Agnes? And I'm kind of like, oh, does she not even remember her past at this point? Which I thought was good. This is where we start getting more things where it just isn't adding up and you start as like an audience member
For sure.
putting the mystery together yourself.
Yeah. I think one, and this is for this like spoof episode and also continuing on to when we get out of it, I really, really love that Aubrey Plaza is like playing a character.
What do you mean?
Because like every time I see her in anything, she's doing the thing she's always doing,
Right.
where it's like the could care less thing, and she's great at it. It's
Yeah,
great.
it's like the Parks and Rec
It's not
character.
a bad thing at all. But I feel like that's very much been her typecast in everything I've seen of hers, right? So to see her like do something different, and she was really good, and she had funny moments, and she was serious, I just thought that was really cool, both as the actual character towards the end of the episode, and even in this, like this fake federal agent, I felt like she was giving some cool depth layers. Because like, especially when she was saying like, do you even remember why you hate me? I was like, were they friends? Were they lovers? Does she feel bad? Like, I'm like, what is this story? And just to find out it's fake, I'm like, that's crazy. That just that small of a performance got me so invested in this fake thing, you know?
No, I think she did a really good job of feeling like powerful. And because obviously she is, and we learn kind of how powerful she is at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And it added to the sense of unease where it's like this, why is this sort of just like normal everyday federal agent coming in who feels like I'm like, she's a witch, right? When I first met her. And there wasn't anything in the script to like give that away. She seemed like the lines felt knowledgeable, but I do feel like the acting really added to that.
Yeah. And then this is another funny note I said. She specifically, when Aubrey Plaza says something like, how did the body get their magic or something? And Agnes goes, let's stick to reality here. Right? And she delivers it really funny. And I wrote down, this is the Marvel universe, yes, with like gods and ghosts and magic where it's all real. Just to find out, again, it's all fake. But I thought that was really funny that I wrote that down because it's so, like a very obvious joke. And I also put down like all the things in the first scene. Somebody said she was acting different. The second scene, just now, like, you've lived in this hometown all your life. I was like, clearly something's up. And again, I like how obvious they're being with it.
Yeah. No, yeah, they're being very obvious. So then in the next scene, she's getting this ring examined, and it's clear that it's a European ring. And I thought this was cool. He said there's the 3 goddesses on it, the maiden, mother, and crone, which is like a witch thing. That's that 3 goddesses thing. And they open it up, and there's this lock of hair in it. That's really it. Like, we learn that about, and she's kind of like sassy and leaves the ring guy.
Super quick. I wrote this down during this scene, but I mean it for the entirety of this opening and into the rest of the episode. I think the set design of this show is phenomenal.
Okay.
I think every set felt so, like, one, it was really fun to look at. Like, even the pawn shop had so many like neon lights, and the colors that were there, like the way they color graded the shots were really nice. And then just every place feels really, really lived in. Like when we're at her house or we're at the precinct or anything, like it feels like a place that people exist in.
Yeah.
Which was just super fun. And I think it added to making this spoof style beginning feel more real and connected. Like it wasn't less funny, but I took it more seriously.
Yeah.
Because it felt more real, which I thought just throughout the entire episode, I was like, wow, this place looks so real to me.
Yeah, especially because they're not using these sets again, you know? I also think it's fun that they chose like a true crime series, because they could have chose like any TV show. In WandaVision, it went through like the decades of sitcoms. And I think it's cool that they chose this because Agatha is not really forthcoming with information. Like, you as an audience member, even when we're past this true crime thing, are still trying to put things together, right? So like later on, this ring is actually a locket that she like picks up off the ground, and we have no clue what it goes to, right? So like this information we got here is still helpful and necessary to like whatever mystery we're trying to solve in the real Agatha world. So I think that's cool. We're still trying to figure out like what is actually going on, and I think it just thematically really ties together.
Yeah.
So then Agnes is alone at the station at night, and we have the book title, which is Dialogue and Rhetoric, Known History of the Learning and Debate, which is kind of funny because like that actually doesn't make any sense now that I'm saying it out loud. Yeah. And it basically spells dark hold because that's like the book. And I thought the music here gets really cool. We move on from kind of this like realistic music and start getting into like a creepier sound or like a more ominous sound.
Yeah.
And he's like, go home. The police chief tells her to leave and she doesn't want to. And she ends up, he like turns the light off for her and kind of makes her go, but the music still gets like mystical and mysterious here. So we're starting to feel like there's some sort of obviously more to it. Did you want to say anything about that?
Not really. I just thought it was, again, really clear. I agree at this point where like everybody should know that like something's going on. At
right.
This point. So I think they're doing a good job of not rehashing the same things. Like she realizes something, it's quick and we move on.
Yes.
You know, so I'm still interested, but I'm also not feeling like I'm being spoon-fed, even though I kind of am, because it's like very obvious.
And I think the music, especially from like beginning to end of this spoof moment, everything kind of feels a little zoomed out. Like it's more about the scenario than Agatha/Agnes.
Yeah.
And it slowly starts getting more in her head, which I think is very cool. It's like we're zooming in with a camera and the music is doing that for us.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the world we live in once we're out of this TV show. So it's cool that we start getting these snippets and then she like pulls it together and goes back into her TV show. You know, it's very cool how the music shows that. So then we are at Agatha's house and it's like this cute homey vibe, and she looks into a room and there's clearly like a kid that she had that had died, which a lot of people have theories about this and like what the kid's name is and like who he actually is in the world and stuff like that. And then it ends up that Rio knocks on the door and brings pizza, and they're like drinking and gabbing, and they talk about how there was a car wreck at Eastview and that Agnes feels like it's related and that something's there, but she's just not seeing it. And then they start this dialogue of like, well, don't you turn into a pumpkin if you go that far? And she goes, I travel, I'm worldly. And she goes, where do you travel? And this is another moment where like Agnes can't remember. And this is like another example of Aubrey Plaza she feels like so knowledgeable. Yeah. And it's obviously like a manifestation that Agatha is coming up with to like help her out of it, I guess. Yeah.
No, again, I mean, I feel like this was another scene that didn't need to be this strong, but it was.
Yeah.
Like it was, like you said, very homey. The set looked great. I think their two dialogue and just like their chemistry playing off of each other was just really fun to watch. Which is fun because like how much character work can you do when this fake character is in 5 pages of a script, right? So I'm really excited to see the two of them interact as the series goes on. Because even that much right there, like I'm hooked. Like I want to know everything about these two.
Right. Exactly. Because then she goes, do you remember why you hate me? And no. Are you hiding evidence? No. And she's like, you're only lying to yourself.
That was like a mic drop moment for me.
Right.
When she was like, do you even remember why you hate me? I was like, it was so good.
It was. It was. And then Agnes hears like bumping upstairs and she starts going up and it like cuts to Aubrey Plaza and she's kind of like, well, like, I don't know.
Before we move into the chase scene too, I want to say I wrote this down. I said there were weird angles for their conversation. Right. Like they were at different aspects. Yes. And again, like I feel now that's more like to show the closing in because it's sort of boxed Agnes in And then Aubrey Plaza was really close. And especially when she leaned in with the dolly shot, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, that's on purpose. And,
Well,
you know?
That's what I mean by the shots start getting slowly,
They're, like,
slowly
distorted.
distorted and
Mhm.
off-putting. And they would start it where they'd put like with when she's talking about the fire and the books are behind her. And it's like a little distorted, but not really.
Yeah.
And then they do things like that, what you're saying, where it's these angles that make you feel a little bit on edge and you kind of don't know why.
Mhm.
And they start doing it a lot when she gets into the interrogation, because that's when things start like falling apart. But yeah, no, I think it's really great. The cinematography was used so beautifully to tell the story.
I think, yeah, I wrote right before the second part of the scene, I like the tone overall. It feels like an actual thriller mystery sort of thing. And I said, like, it's very clear that they're like trying not to feel like a Marvel movie.
Okay.
Which I thought was cool. And I think it's another mark of how well this team knows this material, that you can start as an actual parody. And even within this parody, there are moments where I was like, if this is the show, I'm fine with it.
Right.
Like, if this is the actual product, like, let's go. And I thought that was cool to be able to have these purposefully clunky moments and then actual like scenes that mean a lot and like allude to what happens later in the series.
Yeah.
I just think it's really impressive that this team pulled it off this well.
Yeah, I agree.
And for so long. Like, this was half the episode.
I think more
than-
like it's
yeah.
crazy. They had their own like title sequence. It was so, and it was like the title sequence was a little weird too. Like it kind of didn't make sense.
Well, it was like, looking back on it now, it's just like caution tape everywhere.
Right.
And I think I wrote down, I was like, I'd love to see the like places of this town. And I was like, it literally doesn't exist. So
Right.
just being caution tape everywhere is hilarious to me.
Exactly.
And then it literally ends with the tape going into the fog of the forest.
That's so funny.
Like, really well done, really smart.
So then Agnes hears bumping and she goes upstairs alone. And that's where I was like, that's another weird thing. If someone's breaking into your house and Aubrey Plaza's character doesn't go with you, it's just funny. And so she sees like the teenage kid who's breaking in. And so she runs after him. And it's this really fun chase scene. I thought the choreography of the chase scene was cool.
Yeah, I was really worried when it started. 'Cause I was
Yeah.
like, oh, here we go. But it literally kept my attention for every second.
Yeah, it was I felt like dynamic, like she's falling. It was a little kooky, like she's falling off the house and then she's like running after him. And I think the really cool part was when he's about to climb the fence and there's the dog, and then she runs up behind him and he pushes her into the fence and he runs off. Like very creative. It wasn't like an overdone, we've seen this before.
Yeah, and it wasn't creative in like a spectacle-y kind of way.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a lot of anytime when you see a chase, it's probably like a car chase, right?
Right.
And it's like the bigger explosions, the crazier tricks. And this was just like, this could happen in the real world. Like, this chase could happen, but like the pacing of it is what made it good.
And the choreography was dynamic. It was like unique, and your eyes were bouncing back and forth. It was just really good choreography.
And I think it's cool because, as we find out, Agatha doesn't have powers when the series starts. So this show that everybody's going into thinking this is one of the baddest witches out there, having a like literally just a 2 human chase scene be so exciting, I think was another great win for this episode.
The teenager is like absolutely dominating this. She's not doing well at all, which should have been another giveaway that like she's a trained police officer and he's like this teenage kid and he's absolutely getting away from her.
Yeah.
It's really funny until he gets hit by a car. And then I don't know the actress's name, but I just know her as Kitty from that 70s show. I think that actress is so funny and so cute. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know he just came out of nowhere. And she's like, ma'am, get back in the car.
Yeah,
and
this is another thing that gave it away to me. I was like, there's no way you got Kitty for this one scene. Like, this is all coming back.
Right. Then, I said, love how everything feels off and jarring. And at this point, like, I could believe anything is happening. So Agatha or Agnes and Rio are discussing the perp and the teenager. And again, it's like these cool frames where you see him in the mirror or the reflection of the two, and they're like equally in the frame. And it's just kind of like off-putting instead of just seeing them directly.
Yeah.
And seeing the kid directly. We're seeing like all 3 of them together. Once we get into this like interrogation scene, it's really cool. And so she decides to like go in there and interrogate, and he's like being really sassy back. So then Agnes starts like getting physical and like pushing him down, and things, even her acting starts getting more distorted, right? Like she starts getting like kind of weirder and weirder in this scene.
Yeah, this was another one where I was like, what did I say? I said there were really fun colors in the interrogation room, which is cool. I thought the beginning of the scene was really strong. Like the two of them, again, played off each other super, super well. And the three of them were good. And then I said, until the mystical stuff starts happening. And I think I guess his name is Teen right now.
Yeah, he's like referred to as Teen.
When he starts saying something or other about the road or something like that, she just starts like yelling and saying things really slowly. And I still don't know if I liked it, but I get it. You know,
I liked it because I think it's like weird, and I don't think Agatha / Agnes needs to be a likable character, right? Like,
yeah, that's the thing. I respect the creative choice. Like I can understand it was a purposeful choice. But still, I was just like, oh, you know,
really, I didn't mind. I thought it was fun. I thought it was like entertaining, and she's being just as off-putting as like the camera angles, you know. And I like that. And she's getting weirder and weirder because she's like losing her grip on things also.
Yeah,
and she like even there's this one shot where it's like him in the like I guess the left side of the frame, and there's like the clock on the other side, and it's just the way it was shot and like the angles of the table, just all very, very off-putting. And like the clock was
works.
Set at 3:33. Like it's just very funny. And she's like, "What do you know about this murder case or whatever?" And she shows him the pictures, and he's like, "They're just flowers. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Why do you keep looking over there? That's just a painting." And starts like switching back and forth.
That was crazy.
It was really cool. It was really cool. And so then she handcuffs him and she's like, "We're taking you." Because I skipped this. He starts like chanting Latin at her. And that's when things start getting weird. And so she handcuffs him. She's like, "Okay, well, you're going to spend a night in jail."
I loved that. Like the pacing of the reveals, the picture, how they showed the pictures, like panning down to them, then the picture on the wall. Like, I love the tone.
Yeah.
Because that's another example. Like, that was a totally, I am bought in.
Yes.
Like, this is not funny. Like, I am in it right now. Like, I was like freaking out. I was like, this is crazy. So again, to master this in between of comedy poking fun to serious, like what is going on, I thought was really well done.
Yes. They've got my like suspension of disbelief so high right now. I'll go with you because it's done so well. So again, Agatha's in her car and she's kind of like mumbling to herself about how like, "No, it was real. I saw the body. It was real. I saw it." And she gets out and she goes into the morgue and there's no body there. And then there is a body and she sees red hair, scarlet hair the color of scarlet. And it's like the library card is on the body's toe. And we see W. Maximoff, is that her last name? Yeah. Appears on October 13th. And I didn't see Multiverse of Madness. So like I didn't know Wanda had died in that. So like that's I feel like you're probably supposed to get that if you did know, but you didn't need to know that. Yeah. Which is cool.
No, it's good. And it wasn't like a in your face exposition thing. Like it's like the mystery we've been looking for. Like it's so built in to the story of what's happening that it's just a fun reveal. And you didn't need to know it before, but now you do know it so they can talk about it more.
So then Rio shows up, which I'm like, yeah, this girl's not real. And they're like, because I was like suspecting it, but I was like, I feel like you're supposed to think that. And they're like, "How did she die?" And Rio says, "That witch is gone and she left you in a spell." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. But you don't have to stay here, claw your way out." Like she's saying stuff like that. And then Agnes / Agatha starts taking off these clothes layer by layer. And she's like going back in the decades. Yeah. Which was funny.
Yeah. Which if you didn't watch WandaVision is just like a fun scene. But it was every outfit that she wore within the show. Yeah. Because each episode was a different layer inside Wanda's mind. Is really cool. And again, like it wasn't played for laughs. Right. And I think it paid off for that. Because even though she wasn't like fun costumes, she was acting kind of strange. Like it was legitimately intense. Yeah. Like it was really cool to watch.
Yeah, exactly. And then Rio says there's 2 Jane Does in this case. And basically like she's like helping her to remember, which has been the whole point of this character, this like fake federal agent from the beginning. So then A. Harkness appears on the card and she's like in her first episode, which is like the black and white 1950s episode. And then we transport to her home where she's naked and she's like screaming. I thought that whole sequence worked really well. I was like, oh, I get it afterwards,
I completely agree.
I think it all made sense to me. And I'm trying to think if it would make sense if you didn't watch WandaVision. I think it might be a little confusing, but like you'll go with it.
Yeah,
would be my
I think
guess.
at this point, if you're still following after all the weird stuff, I think you're ready to just go for whatever.
I also think most people would be watching this because they watched WandaVision.
Yeah, and I think some of the dialogue, like specifically like claw your way out, like take layers out, like I think they're doing really good dialogue moves to help fully make everybody understand as well.
Yes. So then Agatha like storms outside and goes and sees her neighbor, which is her like police cop partner, and we get kind of like the explanation of what's going on. And it was the actress's idea for Agatha to like walk outside naked. I think she was just supposed to be naked in her house. And Kevin Feige, is that how you say his name, was like at first not about it, but she was like, no, I really think it'd be a good idea. And I kind of think it's funny. I think it works.
That seems the most Marvel. I wrote down like Marvel comedy is back when she wrote that. I don't know how I feel because I think it's played for laughs like Marvel would do it. And that feels so out of place in this world so far. I know we just got to like the real world, but I think I was immediately on edge because once we left the magical realm, I was like, okay, so this is what the show actually is.
Right.
And then the first thing is like kind of an overdone, like, you're a little
I guess that's
free
true.
with your boundary. And the dad is like, oh, I'm just looking. I'm like, is this what we're revealing to, you know? And it does luckily not do that. Like, I feel like this stays very clear in its own world that it's built. But that right off the bat, I was like, ooh, oh, geez.
Okay. It didn't bother me so much. I think it's just like,
I don't know. I feel like that's 20 years of Marvel baggage, though.
I guess that's
by
true.
itself, I'm sure it's fine.
Because I like can't even think of a moment where Marvel did that, but like that's just me. I haven't like seen as many,
Yeah.
But now that you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. But for me, it's like I think it helps it feel like a big shift from where we were, and I don't even think it was like fun for it being funny. I just think it was like. I think the idea of her taking off all these layers and she ends up naked I think that makes really perfect sense, like her in the house. And I think I don't know, like if they do it with a guy, why not with a woman, So like this is the first like woman to do that and like see like the fully like back nudity of a woman. Like, I don't know. I think it's funny in like Marvel universe.
Yeah, no. And I definitely, it's done differently. That just put me on edge a little bit.
You were weary. Yeah, I understand.
But no, it was fine.
And so we find out that Agatha's been here for 3 years and it was Wanda. And Urba's literally like, oh, we try not to say her name. And basically. Yeah.
And at this point, I feel like Agatha at this point.
Right.
Her like actual character is coming out. And I was like, this is who I fell in love with. Because she's doing all the quick little thing, like the constant comedy, and she is not missing a beat. Like,
no, she's not.
I wonder how much of the script was just like improvised, especially the little thing she says or the little motion she does.
Yeah.
Specifically that, because somebody was like, we're not supposed to say her name, and she goes, shh, really quick, and I just thought that was so funny. I was cackling with it.
No, I think you're right. I think that character is like such a standout, and I think she does such a good job. She's, to me, like not likable. Like she's mean. She's like. Right, like in the second episode, she like pushes people. Right, like
but that's like why you love her.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like I love that. I think that's so much fun that she's like not a very nice person. Like she's a villain, right? Like that's what she is.
Well, it's funny because it's like it's the category of like really petty villain,
right?
Because like she is going for this ultimate goal, but she's powerless right now, right?
Yeah.
Like she's not actually hurting anybody. She's just kind of being a dick,
right?
Which I think is really funny.
And I think the actress does such a good job of like. Staying true to that character and staying like all the little things she does feel in line with Agatha. It's really fun to me. And so, yeah, like there's no dead body. It was just a spell the whole time. And she was like, he was even like, you're bitten by the true crime bug. And like people have been trying to help you, like bring you groceries and stuff. And we see like all the people that were in the story and they're like just the neighbors, and yeah, it's really funny.
And I like that they layered it too. Like her partner
Right.
is her next door neighbor.
Yes.
Like somebody she sees all the time. The police chief is somebody who lives like 2 houses down.
Yeah.
And then the pawn shop guy who we saw for literally like 10 seconds was jogging in the neighborhood. So he lives farther away.
Yeah.
And that was just like a little detail that I really liked.
Yeah, that's so true. And so then she goes back inside and we like are reminded that she has no powers. Like there's no lair. There's just this like, she sees her bunny and she starts like hearing bumping, and it's the teenager that she arrested. And she's like, oh, I guess I actually, instead of arresting you, I just like kidnapped you basically. And then all of a sudden Rio bursts through the door and like all black, and she like draws a knife on Agatha, and they start like going at it, and we find out that Agatha lost the Darkhold and they're fighting. I thought the fight choreography was fun. Like she's like holding on to the knife. It was very intense. They were using these like cool effects. Like at one point, like wind blew from behind Aubrey Plaza, which was like cool.
Yeah.
Like
This started a lot of what I really liked in the show, and what I think gave it a lot of character as a product. And that is they used a lot of horror style special effects.
Okay.
So not visual effects like computers, but like
practical.
Practical effects. Like that, like they just leaf blowered
Right.
hair, right? And at one point she's on the ground and she stands up, and it was just a reverse shot.
Exactly.
And I loved it because it made it the perfect level of campy that I think they were going for, but I was still completely in it.
Yes. That's the thing about like the witches and the character of Agatha. It's very quirky, campy, and like unrealistic purposefully. And that makes it really fun. Like it's, to me, I think they're taking creative risks. And I feel like right now everyone just is doing the same thing. And everyone in every TV show is just acting the same way. And we have the same shots, and everything is so monotonous. And I feel like we're going to look back on this time in TV and be like, that was kind of bad. That was kind of bad. And
so this was the nail in for me. Like, okay, I am good or bad. Like I am riding this to the end because I am invested in the choices they're making.
And so I'd rather see something that is like creative and takes a risk and like has a character and a perspective than it being like perfect. Like I think it's like quirky on purpose. And I think that makes it fun.
And it shows the master of the craft of everybody who worked on it. That like you can intersperse these frankly really cheesy effects at this point in time, right? When you have Marvel's budget, like you could have flown a rig in there. You could have just used a CG thing that looked exactly like but you didn't.
Right.
And that gives a charm to the show, to the shots.
And I just think that's so aligned with Agatha's character, where it's like, you know, it's like endearing and also like kind of bad, you know?
Yes. Yeah. I also wrote this down. This is not a critique at all, but I was like, how strong is Rio that a powerless 3-day coma Agatha is like holding her own right now?
Well, she says that you can't kill me.
Yeah.
Right? And so like I'm thinking she was like toying with her, you know, and she wanted to like physically fight. Because even at the end, like the way Agatha gets her to leave is by just like saying, this is pitiful if you kill me now. Yeah. Right?
I just thought that was funny.
It is. No, it is funny. Because I'm guessing, I was wondering that too. Like, is she super powerful? Like, if Agatha had her powers, would this be a fair fight? Or would Rio be like, easily destroyed? Right? Because like Agatha's really powerful. Oh, but I mean, I guess Rio knows Agatha doesn't have power, but two things. If you blast Agatha with your power, she gets that power. It, So her not using her powers on her feels like motivated.
Yeah. No, it was good. Like it wasn't a plot hole thing. I just thought it was a funny question because I know
I agree.
Agatha's a baddie. And with no power, like I just thought that was really funny to think about.
Because then also they say it would kill me to take your power. Agatha says it would kill me to take your power, and I was like, why?
Exactly.
Right. I want to know.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by like things are still really mysterious as we go through the series.
They also dropped the Black Heart line.
Right. Yes. Yeah. What does she say exactly? Like Rio calls her own heart black, right?
Yeah. Well, she says something like she's heartless. And then Rio goes, I do have a heart. It's black and it beats for you.
Yes.
Which is cool.
Which like comes back a little bit in the second episode, but I don't know if it's like exactly what you're thinking.
Exactly supposed to be.
You think it is?
We'll talk about it, but I think it's exactly that.
But yeah, so Rio agrees, like, okay, I'm not gonna kill you, but I am gonna call the Salem 7, and they're gonna come down and they're gonna like take you and kill you. And then she licks the like cut on her hand from holding the knife, and it's like healed. which was weird. I don't know. I liked it though.
At this point, I was like, yeah, of course.
yeah.
If she would have just licked the hand, I would have been like, yeah, cool.
Right.
It was
right.
still a
I didn't
cut,
even need to know it was healed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. And then, yeah, like,
Can I tell you what I wrote? Here?
yeah.
I just said Salem 7. That sounds fun. That's
Right.
literally all I put down.
No, it is fun. And like their dialogue was funny when she was like, do you remember what pain feels like? It kind of tickles, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And
but
then
it was also like kind of serious because I was like, Agatha was probably like this immortal hyper being. Like it's funny, but it's also like, oh shit.
Because then Agatha's like, coochie coo. Like it's really, it's like goofy, you know?
It's good.
I thought it was really fun. Yeah. So then we like, that's the episode. And
she like looks back at the boy still tied up.
Right.
And I thought that was a super fun button of the episode. I have like so many questions that I actually want answers to, and I want to keep watching.
Right. And and then we get this like really cool end credit scenes to the song Season of the Witch. And it's like all these, the history of like witches and all these pop culture moments. Yes. I thought the end credits were like perfect.
Cool.
They were
and
really
I think
cool.
like that was the like culmination, like all the episode built to like, this is our tone. This is the story we're telling. This is how you should feel about it. And I think for something that's so weird and went so many places, to have such a clear through line, like I know exactly what the show's about by the end of the first episode, and they took 3/4 of the episode doing something totally different.
Right. That's the thing. Like someone sat down and was like, here's the concept, here's the theme we're going with, this is the vibe, and like the whole design team. Start with
the CSI episode.
Right. And the whole design team was like, got it, we're on it.
Yes. I thought so many pieces of this worked so well together.
Yeah.
And whilst being like super suspension of disbelief, super off the wall, it was so incredibly clear and focused the whole time.
Yes. So, do we want to? I have like more things that I want to say about the overall stuff, but I want to say it after we talk about episode 2.
Sure. Yeah.
Because like there's more specific things to like Agatha's story, so I want to like wait till we get there.
For sure.
So, I can go ahead and do like a recap of episode 2.
Yeah, this can be a good midpoint break. Pause, go to the bathroom, take a sip of your water. I'll say, so these 2 episodes came out together and we watched them back to back. And I was, after the first episode, because we plan to watch 2 of them.
Right.
And I was like, oh God, if it's bad, like 2 hours of content.
I know.
After the first episode, I was like, I cannot wait for episode 2.
I know.
So we won't wait. Are you ready for the episode 2 summary?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Dominus Deum.
Episode 2 starts right where episode 1 left off. Agatha needs her powers back and plans to go down the witch's road to do so. The teenage boy, referred to as Teen, begs her to come with, as he is the one who helped her out of Wanda's spell. She agrees, and the two go on a quest to find a coven of witches that must accompany them down the road. We meet a divination witch called Lilia, Jennifer the potions expert, and Alice a blood witch. The 3 meet Agatha at her place but are upset when they're missing a green witch. Agatha, reluctant to bring the real green witch, grabs one of the neighbors to pass off as such. The witches begin to conjure the road by singing a 6-part a cappella harmony number. While Teen witnesses a group of cloaked and ominous figures emerge, the figures begin to attack as a door to the road appears on the ground. The witches plus Teen run down it in order to escape the scary figures. The episode ends with the gang seeing the road, taking their shoes off as they begin their journey.
50 seconds. Wow, that was as succinct as this episode is.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what I really want to talk about. This is like clearly paying a lot of homage to Wizard of Oz. Did you get that?
Yes.
Okay. Like a lot. And I think it's funny because you and I really love witches. Like you are a fan of witches. Like you think that's fun. But also we're like so obsessed with Wizard of Oz. We have like 20 of these books. Like
I am all about, yes.
I mean, it's like up on our wall. Like,
cannot tell you the amount of money we've spent on custom like Wizard of Oz special editions.
And part of that is because like the story is cool and it's interesting, like the movie's interesting, but also like as people who like analyzing media and writing things,
we should do a Wizard of Oz episode.
Yeah, we
really should.
And it's like funny to me that this is so many things I personally like.
Yeah. You know what else has made me think about?
Yes.
Weirdly, do you remember early on the episode in Vampire Diaries where they like road trip up to the bar to meet the person? You know what I'm talking about? That's what this gave me a lot. Like, road trip, like we got to get the band back together. Yeah. And I thought that was really cool. Yeah.
No, I think this episode was really, really fun. I actually really liked this one because I was a little bit worried because I liked the like crime thing was fun to me, right? Like I like the mysteries and like the solving this and like that kind of stuff is fun. So I was like, ooh, I hope when we get into the like actual world, it's like as good and better. And it was, which was great.
Yes. I was opening up on the real world. It pretty immediately set the pace that like, okay, this is like thought through all the way.
Right.
Which is really cool. Before we get super into it, I want to point out, I love the font of the text titles.
Okay.
I think it's great. It's just a black background with white text, but the text looks so good. It's like old parchment writing, like Salem witchy feeling. I love it. It's so good.
Right, because this episode is called Circle Sewn with Fate, Unlock the Hidden Gate. And I think it's fun that they have the title card before. Especially when they like took care into like what they're going to name the episodes.
Yeah.
And it being a part, is it the song? It's the song, right?
Yeah, that's one of the lyrics.
So I think that's very cool. Yeah, so I feel like we're going to be making a lot of Wizard of Oz references. They reference it a lot. I think they did a really good job. And do you want to like start from the beginning?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so it starts like right where we left off. She's like put on clothes and that's it. Tina's still tied up, all that. And she basically is just going to like leave him. And she's like, okay, have fun with the Salem 7. And he manages to get the tape off and he's kind of like, let me come with you. Like, I know you're going to go down the road. I think she said she's going to do that. And he's like, let me come with you. And I think this is funny because even her hair is like a reference. Like her hair is in pigtails for this whole episode.
Yeah.
You know, so that's like Dorothy's pigtails in Wizard of Oz. So it's really fun. Like episode 1 was us in Kansas, which was like the crime scene, you know, and then we switched to like, we have like now descended into Oz is what this was. So her like ripping out of who she was and the layers off is now us in Oz.
Yeah.
Which I just think is really fun. I think it's really cool.
And it's done more subtly than the first episode.
Yes.
Which is cool. But if you know what you're looking for, you're like, this is really fun.
Right. Because it's not like one for one. It's just got so many cute little things that, I mean, when you're like a 400-year-old witch, right? It's just like super quirky. And the boy ends up saying like we find out he knows a lot about her and he's the one that saved her. And he wants to go down the road so he can gain power. And he knows she doesn't have her powers. And this was really cool because we started getting these things where when Agatha's like thinking, the music will like swell and then it'll like completely stop. And it feels like we're going into her brain and like we are seeing and thinking what she is thinking.
Yeah. No, I thought this, again, I don't know how extensive the chemistry test for this show was, but Agatha and Teen, I think, again, like the way they play off of each other is so much fun.
Because I was worried I wasn't going to like him.
Me too.
I didn't think I was, and I didn't think you would either. Because I thought he was going to be like, sometimes when adults write teenagers, they do such a poor job.
And I think that's kind of what, like, it's very, when you see what he looks like, when you see the lines he says, like, I know who that's supposed to be, but I still loved him.
Yeah, because they give him more depth.
They gave him more depth, and I think this actor is really knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, he does have a lot of lines.
Yes.
And it's not always the most, like, it's not the most important things being said, but the way he says them just sort of builds the character in little ways.
Yes.
And by the end, like, I was really, like, I was laughing along to his jokes.
Yeah.
I was, like, feeling for him. I was like, this is crazy that I like this person that much.
Yeah. They make him, like, cute and fun, and they give him, like, the mysterious element, too.
Yes,
because
which I think they do that beautifully.
I think they do, because he like can't say his name, and I thought the effect was really cool. It's like the squiggles over his mouth. So
I thought it was a letter M.
I think it is a letter M. Yes.
Do you think it's for Maximov? Like, do you think
No.
Wanda did this, or is it somebody else?
So a lot of people have theories. This is the one that I thought was like really good. So someone on Reddit 12 hours ago, so we're right on the cusp of this.
Great.
Was saying that it's a lot of stuff. So like when you have the Darkhold, you have to like sacrifice someone.
Okay.
And hold on, let me see where I can find it.
While you're looking it up, the effect also looked really, really good. Like that was one of the digital effects in it, but it looked very, very well done. Like his mouth disappears and like a squiggle goes over it. And it sort of looks like stitches, which I thought was cool. But then it's like pretty clearly a letter M as well, which is awesome.
So I feel like this is gonna I feel like this is probably right. So I think it's gonna spoil it. So I don't know if I should say it for you of like who he's supposed to be. It's up to you. Do you want me to?
Is it a character we know already?
Not really. I think the person is like using
Mr. Satan.
I think they're using like not only the comics but like their ideas, but
yeah,
and also like we see when she sees the room in the first episode, and we see like who's on the plate of the. It says like Nicholas Scratch is on the plaque. Remember?
Okay.
And so people think that like it might be him, but like there's a lot. There's more to it. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yes. It seems like what they're saying. Do you want me to tell you what they think it is?
Yeah.
They think it's like Agatha's son that she reluctantly
sacrificed.
Yes, for the Darkhold, and that he's sort of been reincarnated as this character. Who knows if that's right? I think it's a cool theory. And so this is like another thing I think was cool. And it kind of happenstantial. It's called Agatha All Along, right? And like the whole freaking point of Wizard of Oz is she had the power within her all along.
Yeah, that's
right.
cool.
And so she like gets to the end of the road, and it's funny because like her song was Agatha All Along. So I don't know if they just lucked out on that.
Yeah.
And they went through like a few different names, but that's like the perfect name for this like Wizard of Oz play on, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And this person says that they think Agatha's full power was like Nicholas being reincarnated is like, see what I'm saying? It like goes together and he's with her all along. Something like that. I don't know. That's what they're saying. And I think that's a cool theory.
Teen is like the reincarnation
of her son. Yeah.
Okay.
Who knows if that's true? I think that's a cool theory though.
Crazy. I'm here for it. All that to say, love the two of them already.
And so then she's like, I'm driving, and she tries to get in a car, but it's like this very elaborate fake car from stuff from her house.
Another one where I was like, I'm not against it, but I am confused. Like, did she build it for the police car in the first episode?
Yes. Okay. That's what I'm thinking it is.
It was a weird like left field joke.
Yeah.
When the entire pacing, everything so far has been like this next thing, this next thing to like stop. And again, I didn't hate it. It was just like, huh? You know?
I took it as like she was still coming down from where she was at from the last episode. Yeah, it was just goofy.
Yeah, it was goofy.
So they're driving and they realize that, or she's explaining that they need a coven to access the road, that's just so fun. So we're like in the story of Wizard of Oz, but we're like meeting all the characters, you know? Yeah. And she is talking about like the Covenstead rule. Within a 3-mile radius, there has to be like enough witches to count as a coven. Just fun like lore that we're getting very subtly,
supernaturally. Like I loved the world building through this episode. Just like them in the car talking, I never once was like, I get it, you need to tell me. Like it felt completely natural. The dialogue was phenomenally written,
and which makes me think that like the dialogue in the first episode was purposeful.
Yes,
you know,
for sure.
And it's also done, I think it's like so well done because of a couple reasons. One, Teen playing off of it and him being so like wonderstruck by the world. And he's like, can you write that down? Can you write that down for me?
I thought it was cool. Like what I'm most impressed about is that Teen clearly has a knowledge because he's studied this. He's followed Agatha for years, but he is written with the exact right amount of knowledge that we can fill in any gap that's not immediately said.
Yeah.
Like, the bridge between him and Agatha is all the information we actually need told to us.
Yeah.
Because through like just knowing what a witch is, through like media, we know all the shit that he already knows. And I think that was masterfully done. Because they literally could have been like, well, witches are magic users who do it, but it doesn't matter. Right. So they never told us, like they didn't go into what is a witch. It doesn't matter. And I thought that was really good.
Well, because then it's also just the actual lore she's talking about is interesting. Do you know, it's fun. It's fun to learn more about these like witch rules and we as like an audience member are interested as well.
Yeah. And like you said, Teen being active in this conversation and throughout the episode being more active just as a character, like he's not on the sidelines. I think that's what made me like him a lot more.
Yeah. And then they give him like, he's kind of like quirky and cute and like a little wholesome, you know?
Yeah.
But he's also not, they didn't just give him a gimmick and say good enough.
Yes.
Right? He is gonna, if things aren't working, he's gonna try his own thing and he's gonna ask questions, but he's also like cute and will make a sign, right?
It's
so
cute,
they gave him a lot to his character, which makes him so likable instead of just letting him be this like caricature of what a teenager is.
Yeah, even little things like his boyfriend called in the car, and like that might come back later. But even if it didn't, like that's just a thing about this character,
right? Because then he goes, he worries,
which was super natural. Like I'm sure we're gonna run into the boyfriend at some point.
Yeah.
But it was great, like, and it was so felt in place. It was really nice.
So. And then, yeah, they even talk about how like more witches bring out like a magical spark and they stop at a psychic's place. And this is so funny to me because this is Patti LuPone. This is, if you don't know who Patti LuPone is, she is like a phenomenal, one
Broadway
of the like top tier, Broadway legends, like phenomenal singer, actress, performer, like Oscars. Like she is
the voice
famous.
Of Yellow Diamond and Steven Universe.
Oh, yeah. So I just think it's so funny that she's in this show.
It's funny. And she kind of kills it.
I think she does a good job too.
Really good job. I also, at this point, I was like, they're probably going to sing, right?
Yeah. No. So I was, went into this episode thinking about like how Agatha got her song, Agatha All Along in WandaVision. And so when this episode started, I was like, I really hope they sing a song in this episode. Like that's how I started this episode. Yeah. And then obviously like Patti LuPone walks up and I was like, so you're singing,
Here
right?
We go. Yeah.
We're going to sing,
this
right?
This is the musical episode.
And then they pull out that 6-part harmony and the song was long too. It was like minutes.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, we'll get into it. But I was like, I got what I wanted. Yeah. So Agatha goes into the kind of like rundown psychic place and she puts on this like accent and is just trying to determine if this witch is an actual witch. And it's kind of cool because they need different types of witches for the like road. Like you need a specific divination witch. Like this
which they don't say outright either. Like in the car, they don't say like, we need one of these. It naturally comes up. Like I think she says like, oh, we need a potions guy. We need a seer, right?
Yes.
And by the end, they're like, wait, the song says we need this. And it's just like another great example. I was not told you need A, B, C, and D. We found out naturally because everybody already knows this. They wouldn't talk about it, which is really cool. Yeah,
that's a good point. So then they're kind of like, they're both sort of like playing a game with each other. Like she's pretending, Agatha's pretending. And then we find out her name's Lilia, Patti LuPone's character. And Lilia is like, tells her like a fake thing about like the gold is in a bowling ball in the bag in the back of your closet, right? And then it kind of gets like serious, and she's like, "Oh, you're under the influence of another, and it's been 3 years," and she's like, "I'm out of here." And then the like ruse stops, and this was just fun. Like the music, I think the sound design of this like whole show is so cool.
Yeah,
and I think like they like zoom in on her, and so it's just fun to see it.
They're both, again, I want to know how much is on the script because I feel like Agatha's doing some improvised lines. And then at one point, Patti LuPone just starts going like, woo around.
Right.
And it's like, it's legitimately hilarious.
Yeah.
The dialogue, how they're looking at each other, the way they're playing off each other. It is really funny to watch.
Yeah. And like this dialogue was funny. She was like, no one in their right mind is going to follow Agatha Harkness. And she's like, I'm not looking for right-minded witches. And then Lilia like screams and like the music and the sound design like goes like out. And I think what this is supposed to be, maybe I'm wrong. Cause obviously to me, Lilia is the scarecrow. You know, she's like the first one, but then I think it's funny that she's like the psychic of like, and the scarecrow doesn't have the brain. Right. And I think that's funny. And, I think the screaming is supposed to be like the falling down. Maybe that's looking too into it, but like I kind of think that's funny because like the scarecrow shtick is that he like falls a lot. He's clumsy, and like she like randomly screams. I just think it goes together to me.
I think it does too. Yeah. Like when is it? Is it this scene? What scene is it where she calls the team Toto too? Because that was the big one. I was like, oh, this is Wizard of Oz. Well,
so in this scene, she goes, "This is my pet. Say hi, pet," which was funny. But then I was like, oh, he's Toto. When she said he's my pet. I got it like immediately. And then later in the episode, she's like, I call him Toto or something. And I'm like, yeah.
Good stuff.
It is. It's really funny. So then Agatha's like, I'm going to walk the road, and I've done it before, and I survived, and I need a divination witch.
Even the yellow brick road, obviously.
Right. Exactly.
It's so good.
It's really good, isn't it?
I love The Wizard of Oz.
I do too. And I love witches, so we're
It's
really
so
like,
good.
and it's really fun to be like following along and realizing these things as an audience member.
Yeah.
And it makes it's just fun. You know, you're like putting together puzzle pieces, and it's just really entertaining to me. So Agatha's like, let me in on like the secret. I can't steal your magic unless you blast me with it. So all your power is good. And I was like wondering if she's telling you the truth, but she is. We know she's telling the truth.
Yeah.
And basically they have this, like, she pulls out the eviction notice, and they are kind of like, okay, we're out. And then Lilia has a vision, and she writes down the names of who's going to be her coven. And
which was really cool.
it was really cool.
I love that.
And so then they're kind of like, okay, bye, we're out of here, and meet us at sundown or
like
5
o'clock.
Right.
And Teen starts like handing out like Agatha's address, and I was like, what the fuck?
It's
That
funny.
was really funny.
So then they're leaving, they're getting in the car, and they see a scarecrow, and it gets like ominous. And at first, sorry. They see a crow.
That's right.
And it gets like ominous.
Which, love a good ominous crow.
Me too. But I'm trying to decide, because later she sees a rat and then a wolf. And I was like, because at first I was like, oh, is it supposed to be like a crow, like a scarecrow?
Scarecrow,
But
yeah.
I don't know, because then she sees a rat and a wolf.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure.
So I don't know if these are going to come back or not.
Because I know the next part, are you saying like the candle person is going to be the Tin Man? Is
Yeah.
that what we're thinking?
Yes.
Because what makes sense to me, the rat is with the last
lion.
person, and the lion is scared of mice.
Right.
He said. So that makes sense to me. But yeah, the wolf,
she sees the rat.
in the mall with the
you're
person.
right. You're right.
Did they see anything with the
I don't think so. We'll see. I might have written it down.
Okay.
No, because they go. Yeah, I really don't think they did. Because then she sees a wolf later. So I'm like, what is that? What do those mean? Maybe they're going to come back.
Could just be the lions, tigers, and bears on mine.
Could be that. Crows.
The wolf is the
right.
jitterbug.
Yeah. Right. So then they do this.
I do think the Salem 7 are the flying monkeys, though.
Oh, do you think they actually are?
I don't know. They're just scary.
Okay. That's so funny. So then we cut to Jennifer in her shop.
That's
and
right.
this was so funny to me. She's like she's selling these candles, and they're like edible candles. She's like, here, taste them. And she's like, they've got probiotics in them or whatever. And like, this is so funny.
This is
like
so Gwyneth Paltrow goop.
Right.
Going
It's
on.
such a good little like influencer spoof dig at people. I just thought it was good. And so Agatha and Teen are there, and we find out that like Jen and Agatha don't like each other. And
which seems to be a common thread with anyone she meets.
it's because Agatha sucks,
Yeah,
right?
big difference between her and Dorothy, I would say.
Right. And then like we find out Jen is magicless as well. And then they say this. I wrote this down. She says something like, Jen goes, another child sacrificed. And at first I thought it was foreshadowing that at the end of the road, you need a child sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was. But some people
But
were
then
saying they think it's like a hint at what happened. And I think that's really cool.
That's what I took it as. So I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just think it was obvious and not obvious. It was a good little like moment. And this was cool because this is where like Agatha's it's not working. Agatha's not doing it. She's not getting, because she's having to persuade all these people on her side, and it's not working. So then Teen kind of steps in, and he's like, oh, you're being sued, and like, you need us, basically. And I mean, he did it, right? Like
it's great. And this is what I mean. Like, it's super active, and it wasn't the first person we met either. So it doesn't seem out of nowhere, because we do know that Teen is like kind of an outgoing person. And it just, I immediately like putting him into a necessity role is great to me. Like, everybody on screen is doing something, which is great.
Yes.
And I thought Jennifer?
Yes.
Jennifer's reaction to like the causing a bunch of people harm, right? And she was like, it's only allegedly. I was like, okay, no heart. You don't have a heart.
Exactly. She's like, and it's just like, I think the styling was smart too, with like little things, like the way they did Patti LuPone's hair, and then like she's got jewelry, this like metal jewelry on, like little things to just like hint at it. Like it's not super direct, but clearly everyone on the team was like doing their research and
concept.
Right, exactly. And yeah, I got that. Like she's heartless. Yeah, it was funny.
It was really good. I also, in this idea of like sticking to the skeleton of Wizard of Oz, I think they're doing a great job of explaining exposition and character motivations as quick as possible.
Yes.
Like I did not expect to get on the road by the end of episode 2. Like we were talking about it like it is this big thing. And like we're already there. And I'm like, that is crazy. Like I've been on the edge of my seat for 40 straight minutes.
Yeah.
Because the pace of this is just breakneck in the best way.
And it feels like you learn so much as you go. And each encounter, I feel like it'd be hard to make when you have a song to sing, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard to make each little encounter feel different. And I think they did such a good job with that. And how they persuaded each person was very different.
Yeah.
And I just think that was part of making it entertaining and interesting. So then they're leaving and Agatha is like, you don't need to see who the fourth name is on. And Teen is like, well, show me. And Agatha literally eats the paper, which I thought was, again, just like, of course, this like asshole character is going to do that. And then we get this cool transition to the food court, like right after she says, I want a corn dog.
Yeah.
And so they're sitting down and we get some more like information
it's this
here.
fun like pan up to the table. And I was like, y'all didn't have to do that. No, but that was really funny.
It was. And then we're getting Agatha's like giving Teen information. We find out this next witch we're finding is a blood witch, which means she's a child of a witch. So I guess that means witches aren't typically through blood in this world. It's more like you are born with it happenstantially, right?
I think it's happenstantially. You can like train to be a witch. Or I guess, you're like born into it sometimes.
Right.
I'm sure there are other too. Like it's Marvel. I'm sure every possible way you can be a witch is explored some way, you know?
And also her mom is like a rock star. Which is just like funny. Random. But
who
funny.
Like wrote the song of the road, like recorded the version of it, I guess, which is again not super like necessary, but just like kind of fun.
It like makes sense why they would know the song.
Like another quirky world building thing.
Right. Yeah. And we find out that the mom is allegedly lost because she went down this road and she like didn't make it and she's sort of gone now.
Yeah.
So and then this is where she sees the rat, which makes sense for this because she's seeing the rat before we would see like who the cowardly lion is. So I don't know. It's just I don't know. So then we're in
Reddit, the wolf.
Yeah. So then we're in one of the stores of the mall. And it's kind of like funny. It's like Hot Topic-esque almost. Yeah. And in this scene, she like literally calls him Toto. And Agatha kind of like uses Teen to get what she wanted. So she's like, run, take off running. And she like pushes him. And so he takes off running. And then Alice like trips Teen and Agatha's just like playing and manipulating these people and ends up getting Alice fired literally. And that's kind of like what they use to try to persuade her. And she doesn't even believe, Alice doesn't even believe the road is real, which is interesting because like her mom is so connected with the road. But maybe that's like the cowardly side of it, like not even wanting to believe it. And basically they like don't really do a good job of persuading her. And Agatha kind of like gives up and is like, we don't need her. Let's walk away. Which is like stupid. And Teen's like, I didn't even give her the address.
Yeah, that was really funny. Teen was making me laugh in this scene.
Yeah.
I forget what happened before, but he said like more like iconic at some point, and I thought that was just really funny. Yeah,
no, it was really funny. And I think even like the orange in her hair and like it just of Alice's hair, it's all just really fun and like each setting is even really different. And the color scheme of each little place we go to is different.
Yeah, I would even argue like this Hot Topic-esque like gives off like forest vibes.
Yeah, you know? Well, because the way they did the lighting and they're like
weaving through the different
aisles. Ooh, that's so
really
true.
Cool.
That's really true. Well, because then they talk about, I got another one.
Okay.
In the one before with Jennifer, who's supposed to be the Tin Man, they talk about how she's stuck. So you're stuck here. So you're bound. They say bound. You're bound like magically and literally because you're being sued, which is funny because like when they find the Tin Man, again, we love Tin Woodsman in the book. He's like rusted and can't move, right? You know, and they have to use the oil to get him. So it's just like really funny. It's really good. Like it's a very thought through like metaphor, you know? So then they're driving home and Agatha asks Teen where he's from. And this was, again, cool sound sign. Yeah. He starts talking and like his voice like fades out and there's like this buzzing. But then she starts like snapping against her ear and like turns up the music and she can hear all of that perfectly fine. She just can't hear him. Yeah. And I don't know. It's like makes you interested in what's happening more. It was kind of a long sequence. Yeah. But I didn't mind it because it was all really fun.
No, I thought it was cool. To me, it gave off the vibe that whatever is causing him to not say his name is also causing him to keep all this secret to anyone, or at least to Agatha, right? Like it's not her spacing out. It's like, this is magic that's clearly happening. Yes. And I wrote this down. I was like, it's probably going to be a huge reveal later, like who he is, where he came from. That's why I'm assuming if the reincarnation thing is like, that makes a lot of sense to me. Maybe even he's just like a vessel of the like maybe he doesn't even know, right? But I think it's really cool. And again, it's not like cheap to me because I feel like another show would do this and I'd be like, okay, you're literally just not telling me things. But it's like, it feels so justified in this and I really liked it. And it's done with really cool sound design and cool macro shots of all the things super out of focus. It was just really cool.
And then they button it with comedy. He goes, isn't it nice to get to know each other?
It's so good. This show's really good about doing that.
It is.
It's like it fits in comedy where it needs to be and not any more or less.
Yeah, because then she goes drive faster. Yeah. So that's like exactly their dynamic, you know? So then Agatha comes out and she's like changed and she's kind of like, ooh, I look good almost. She like does a spin or something. She's in this green cloak and then she sees the wolf.
Which I thought was cool. Like she's at Emerald City at this point.
You think they're at Emerald City?
I don't know. Like anytime I saw green, I was like, Emerald City, let's go.
I guess you're right. She does change. Ooh, okay. I thought that was going to be next episode.
Well, at least they all like arrive there, right?
Right. Okay.
And I feel like the road is now like meeting the wizard probably.
Okay. Okay. So, because I figured my like prediction for next episode was like they see the poppies first. They're gonna have a trial.
Do you think they're gonna keep with the Wizard of Oz theme?
I think they are.
Okay.
I think the whole because they literally continue down the. I think they are gonna keep it.
Okay.
Because they've done it so hard.
That's true. Yeah.
I really think they are. So I feel like that makes sense. Maybe it's just like doesn't matter. That's not an order.
Like Disney villain green color.
That's true. But also like I don't think it matters. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
And. That's smart though, because I think next episode's going to be the poppies and they go to the Emerald City.
Okay. How many episodes do we know?
I bet it's like 8, which is annoying. Probably. I hate the 8 episode. You need more. I think Maybe. 8's like small.
I don't know. At the pace we're going, I feel like 8 might be just enough.
I guess that's true. So then she sees a wolf. I don't know what the heck the wolf means, and it's like ominous, and so she leaves.
What could it mean?
Well, let's come back to it. Okay. Let's look it up. So then Teen like puts up a sign in the room that says welcome Coven and like the O of Coven is like a pentagram.
It's so dumb.
It's dumb.
Literally so cute.
It's like goofy.
And you fully won me over with this character at this point. So I was literally going like, no, don't rip it down. It's cute, you know?
Right.
And he made like little hors d'oeuvres. Like
yeah, exactly.
I love this character. And it's because it's this comic relief sort of naive person, but he is active in the story. He is more fleshed out than a normal just cute sidekick. Yeah. And it's so refreshing.
Yeah, no, I agree. So then all 3 of them actually end up showing up, but they realize they're missing a green witch.
Which is super funny, by the way.
That they all show up.
Yeah, and they're like, Alice, how'd you get here? And she just goes, I'm an ex-cop. It's going to be the answer for a lot of things.
Yeah. Like, okay, sure.
Which is cute because like Lion's the king of the forest, like a position of power, you know.
And they're missing a green witch, which means like the witch can move like earth and stuff. And they say that's arguably the most important. And Agatha really does not want to get this witch. And
which I assume is Rio because of the
Black Heart.
Yeah.
Probably, but yeah, I guess so. I think it is probably.
Because they say on the thing, like the name you wrote down was like literally just a black heart.
Right. So I think you're right. And it was just like kind of funny. She was like, it was a black heart, and Agatha's like, because you wrote it in black pen, and like nobody laughs. And she's like, fine. And so she goes out and she gets one of her neighbors, and she says, hi, Mrs. Hart. And she's like, oh, well, that's the name Wanda branded me. That's like not really who I am, which I thought was really funny. Her like real name is, what is it? Oh, it says Mrs. Hart in the, is it Mrs. Hart? And the fake name is?
No, like, she's like Mrs. Wilson or something. Now.
Right. On IMDb, it says Mrs. Hart. I don't know.
Of course.
And so she like takes her, and she's clearly not a witch. She's just like gardening and talking about her gardens. And she's like, okay, got her. Right. And then this is what I think. I think that she's obviously supposed to be the wizard, right? Because she's like a faker.
Okay.
She's like pretending to be a witch.
And
like
she said she's got a green thumb.
Right.
That's cute.
And so I think that she is, I think she's
interesting.
the wizard is what this metaphor is supposed to be. I know she like goes on the journey with them, but I still think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And then I think that makes Rio the Wicked Witch.
Okay.
Right? So I think that's kind of like our cast of people.
I agree.
Because then later when they're like, even when they're like pretending and she's kind of like ditzy, I don't know. To me, it just like, that's what I think she's supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, and it's cute because the wizard's just like an old man who's like, I'm doing the long con.
Yeah, exactly. Know? So then they're in Agatha's basement, and they kind of tell Teen to go away, and all they need to do now is sing the song and open the door, and the door will appear. And so that's like what they start doing. And they're obviously like, they all are so funny because they all like argue so much and none of them like each other. And so their banter to me is funny.
It's very good.
And we start getting these like cool shots of them like around the circle. And it's cutting in between them and Teen. So Teen like finds the bunny and he like hears something outside and he like sees a hooded figure. And then they're like, it cuts back to them singing and they like reference some things, like they say like maiden, mother, and crone. And then the figures like multiply and it's like all sort of like building. Right. And this song is like very long. It continues on for like a minute.
It's so long.
It's so long.
It's crazy. Like I knew there would be some singing something or other. I didn't realize they would conjure the road by singing.
I think that's hilarious.
I think it's really funny. And you've completely suspended my disbelief. So I'm like, whatever. What I didn't expect that it was a 3.5 minute music video. Happening. And they start, what gave it away, she starts singing and all the audio changes. It goes from like this real like production, like on-site sound to like literally like this is the track that is on Spotify. Right. And it starts like there's much less noise. Like the noise floor is lower and she starts and it's all auto-tuned and I'm like, okay. And then it just like they say before they're like, who's singing high? And I was like, wait, y'all have parts? Like,
well, yeah, because Jennifer's like, I'm an alto.
Yeah. And I was like, wait, what is this? So then I had all these questions. I was like, is this because of like the song that was recorded by Alice's mom? Like, how long has it been like this? Like, how did you conjure the road before?
It feels
Do you need to be a good singer to be a witch? Like,
right. It feels very modern too. So like, 400 years ago, were they singing it like this?
Well, what I thought was neat was the actual like melody of it was like kind of old. Like you could sell that to me. Like it was like a 17th century something rather, like it's very like pentatonic. It feels kind of like a folk song.
Oh, cool.
At one point they enter like at different times and I'm like, that's kind of madrigal-y. That's neat, you know?
Okay.
But then it's like it works double because like the harmonies they use would also be like sort of old churchy harmonies, but they're also like rock harmonies. Like they're singing in fourths and fifths, and it's just like, I'm like, how does this weirdly work in both contexts? Like what, you know?
I loved it though. I didn't even mind that it was long because it was fun.
And then they start doing the runs and I'm like, okay, this is just so silly at this point. Like I love it. It's crazy. And it's still happening. Like I'm having all these questions, this internal dialogue, and it's still going on.
Because there's like this rule of like, when you get to a certain point, you can't stop it there because it won't be, you have to keep going to like the absurd amount. And like, that's what they did. Yeah. And the show itself is like very absurd. third. So
Yeah. What's her? Kitty. I'm gonna call her Kitty.
Right.
By like the third verse, Kitty's like singing the chorus.
I
with
know.
them.
Well, because she's like interjecting. She's like, "Am I supposed to know this song?"
Exactly.
And then eventually
It's just
she's
like,
singing.
the road.
Right. She's like singing too. And so then the like hooded figures are like breaking into the windows, and then the song ends, and I think it was the character Jennifer looks over. Basically, it didn't work, right? Like it like paused. There's like not where's the door? It's not working. Where's the road? And then Jennifer goes, if she wasn't so pitchy, to Patti LuPone's character.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was pretty good. I laughed at that. Because like she's the best singer here, right?
Which I also want to say, because like Patti LuPone is known for this like super wide golden age vibrato. The way she sang and the way she was mixed, I thought she was like on fire in this like contemporary sounding track. So to hear her then say like, if this one wasn't pitchy, I thought that was double funny for me. Because like every other time Patti LuPone sung, it's very like Broadway.
Right.
And this was like clean in the pocket, like pop vocal tune. That was just really funny to me.
So then, yeah, it like didn't work. And Agatha is like, well, last time it was a lot faster than this, so something went wrong. And then she starts just like shitting on them. She calls them a coward, a fraud, a disappointment.
Which, again, like
Coward,
cute,
yeah, fraud, right.
disappointment.
Right. And she's just like kind of laying into them. And Lilia is like, wait. She's trying to bait us, so we hit her. And they kind of figured it out. And Agatha's like, it's not my fault. Only a true coven can summon the road. And then, like, Tina's basically being attacked, and he's like running, and the door like opens up on the floor. There's like a door on the floor, and they're like, oh, okay, right. And she like opens it, and there's like sand, which is kind of weird. And then Teen runs down the stairs, and he's like, okay, is this the road? Because I'm going. And he just runs down it, which is kind of funny. Like Toto. Right, exactly.
I also think it's funny that Lilia catches like, wait, she wants to take her power because she's making the smart choices. And in the book, the Scarecrow says like, oh, if only I had a brain. But like throughout the show, he is like super smart and thinking through things.
So it's like a very thought through.
It's very good.
Even, like I was wondering if they had read the books, like the people who wrote this, or like did the comics or whatever conceptualized this idea because of stuff like that. Like you said, the Scarecrow is that's like what's cool
Even
about the
really
books.
Quick, Alice is like, I'm not staying for that. Like the weird scary noise, and she's out of there, you know?
Right.
And I forget what Jennifer says, but I'm sure it's something along the lines of the Tin Man. You're right.
Right. So then they all basically follow because it's like that or be attacked by these like creepy figures, and Agatha goes as well, and she closes the door. And we see the like figure, classic like creepy horror movie, like crawl down the stairs,
and it's all like sped up, and again, it's just like that's so much character that you just added to that literally 1 second of a scene. Like it was great.
Yes. So and then the door like disappears, and Agatha seems a little bit like reluctant, or just like wary is probably the word. And so then they go out of this like tunnel thing. And they see the road, and there's like almost no dialogue. I don't know if there's any dialogue in this.
Yeah, they like take their shoes off.
Yeah,
they look off, and then they start walking.
Which I'm like, why all of them take their shoes off? Which
I need ruby slippers at some point.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true, but
I don't know. I feel like if you need, like, maybe you need to ground yourself to the road or something.
Ooh, okay. Oh, like witchy, like connected to me, I was
like,
earth.
that's a witch thing. Whatever.
No, I fully went along with it, and I felt like it played into the, like ruby slippers, her like taking the shoes off and stuff like that. I just wonder if I just think it's kind of funny. And they all take their shoes off. And Agatha goes, I never doubted us for a second, which is like the last line, which is hilarious. Yeah. And then it like pans down to their shoes, and we see the moon, and this world looks like different, right? It's almost like you know what I was about to say?
What?
I was about to say this world looks Technicolor. Which is so funny because in the movie we go from black and white to like Technicolor. I didn't even mean to do that one.
Wow.
But yeah, it's like almost neon, right? It's like these very like bright, vibrant colors, which is again just very funny because that's exactly what happens with, you know.
And another just really fun button. Like we're on the road, and I am like, I want to see more. I need to know what happens next. I feel like this show is absolutely nailing the pacing of everything. Specifically, like this has felt like the most warranting of a actual show structure. Yeah. Like the ending of every episode so far, there's only been 2, but like the ending of both episodes have made me like I think to myself, oh, I can't wait for the next episode.
I know.
I can't wait to figure out what this is right now as it ends. And I think like that is how you make a TV episode.
Yeah.
Right. Even if it's for binging, like that is how you make me interested in the next thing.
Right.
Whereas so many episodes of things I feel just sort of end. And like, granted, something's happening, but this is such a big, like, this episode was about this and now we're here. And this episode was about this and now we're here. Right?
Yes. No, it had a through line. Like this episode was about getting the gang, you know?
It's
and now
really
we are
good.
at the road. I agree. I was thinking about it. So I was like, who's Glinda then? And I was like, is Herb Glinda? Herb, is he Glinda? Like who's supposed to be Glinda, you know?
Yeah.
But not that I don't think it matters that much.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, because if they just got to, yeah, it's weird because she would have met the Munchkins already. And would have met Glinda already. So I guess it could be Herb.
Or they're gonna meet the very beginning of the next episode.
Maybe, yeah.
But I don't think it doesn't have to be like perfectly in order.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, especially if we think Kitty is the wizard.
Right.
I don't know. I really hope they stay with the Wizard of Oz.
I do too. I really think they are. I think that's what they're gonna do.
That's cool. Because it's in the closing credits too.
Right. Exactly. Anything else you want to say? I
just thoroughly impressed with these two episodes. It was such a fun ride. I loved all the little things. I think it's handling its Wizard of Oz thing the same way it's handling being part of WandaVision. You don't really need it, but it does elevate it, which is really cool. But even without all that, it's still really good. Yeah. The pacing is really strong. The characters are super defined. Yeah, the whole time the cinematography looked really good. I love what they're doing with the colors of every episode. Even like the normal world stuff just looks so visually interesting to me.
Yeah.
Sound design is fantastic. I'm really digging that there's not a lot of effects going on.
Yeah.
I thought there'd be a lot more magic firebolt-esque, and maybe that will happen now that we're like in the magic world.
Right.
But for everybody being Witchet, like besides the Conjuring, like I don't know if any magic happened this episode, but I was still fully invested. It's awesome because the characters are so strong, the plot is so strong
and funny,
the relationships are so strong and so funny and just so thought through. Like everything is so layered but easy to follow. I am super excited to keep covering this series.
You know what this story is?
What?
I think it's the hero's journey. It really is. It's just man leaves town. We're going on a journey. It's just man leaves town.
Which, yeah, Wizard of Oz.
Exactly. It's the hero's journey, right? We just crossed the threshold, right? I think that's so funny.
It's always basics.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Did you have, we didn't do a quote for episode 1.
I guess because this is like the end of the episode. I could say both.
Okay, sure.
So like my episode 1 quote was, Aubrey Plaza's character says to Agatha in like the beginning, she says, if you want to be in control, you can be. Which I think is so funny because it's like, that doesn't make you you're like that's taking good. The control by saying, yeah, you can be in control if you want. Right?
Something else that is kind of neat, we meet Aubrey Plaza's character as this federal agent who could be like in Kansas. That's the first time we meet the Wicked Witch.
We meet
like
everyone bike, basically. You know? Yeah. Yes.
And then we meet her again as the Wicked Witch when she's actually a witch.
Same thing with Kitty.
Yeah, which is cool.
It is cool. It's very cool. And then my second one for episode 2, my quote was, the path you're currently on leads nowhere. I know that's kind of silly, but like, I just think
that's good.
When we're talking about, that's like what this show is we're just all going down this path. I think it was fun with the like word choice they used.
Yeah.
When
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying when they're trying to get Lilia to go with them.
And it's cool. Like even without the Wizard of Oz thing, even without all these other things, like this person being like a future seer, writing her own name down, and they're like, you can't say no to yourself. I was like, that is really cool. I don't know if I've seen that done before in that way. Like it's just really neat. They're taking these powers and these character things and they're using them in such creative ways.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
It is very fun. Yeah, I'm excited. I think that's all I wanted to say about both these episodes.
Cool. All right. Hopefully you enjoyed us talking about it. We're trying to record these as they're coming out. So hopefully the episodes are fresh in your mind. We'd love to hear what you thought about anything in the first or second episode, Easter eggs, spoiler ideas, what you think is going to happen, what you thought about characters.
Oh, apparently there's a lot in the comic books as well that about Agatha's character. So I would love to hear more about that. I think that would be really exciting.
That's great. The best way to support the show is based on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Give us a like, save us, give us a rating, give us a review. Tell people about us. Word of mouth, believe it or not, is still one of the best ways to share the show. And we'll be back soon with more Agatha All Along. Until then, I'm Alex.
I'm Madison.
And this has been
Welcome to the Writers' Room.
We'll see you next time.